So how did Hitler do what he did? In 1933, January, Hitler took over Germany. Right away he began organizing young people's clubs. He knew you have to reach the young people. You ought to study what he did, folks. I'm telling you, it's classic. He took over Germany and then took over the young people. Shortly after that, they closed down the Christian schools. You had to go to public school in Germany. Hitler said, "Let me control the textbooks and I will control the state." You know, there's probably only a few dozen atheists in your city. If you announced in the newspaper or on radio, "We're going to have an atheist meeting tomorrow night," 5 people would show up, right? The atheists know they cannot get a crowd together. So how are they going to spread their religion? Well, they can't do it like we do, the honest way. So they have to get these 4 or 5 key people involved in textbook selection committees, school boards, take over teachers' training colleges like John Dewey did. So you can train the next generation of teachers to be humanists. It only takes a few key people in a few key positions. And you can control what the kids are learning. They know about that. Hitler said, "Your child belongs to us. What are you? We already have your children." 1933, they got the children. 7 years later, 1940, these kids are in the army now, right? Hitler had an army, an incredible army. They nearly took over the world. One little bitty country. How did he do that? Well, young people. We got some people with the same philosophy here in America. They think the young people belong to the government. That's because they got the wrong philosophy. Children belong to God, and they're entrusted to parents. You know, there was a guy named John Sylvan in Nebraska, had a church, he pastored a church. They came and locked him up. He refused to take a license for his church. Now, I don't agree with John Sylvan and all the stuff he did, and I think he was kind of looking for the fight. But still, they came and padlocked the door to the church. He refused to accept the license. The guy who really got after John Sylvan was the head of the Nebraska Board of Education and a senator from Nebraska named Hoagland. He went after Sylvan big time. Hoagland, and I believe I have my facts right here, and Sylvan's attorney were on the radio discussing this. This anti-Christian fella said, "These fundamentalist parents have no right to indoctrinate their children in their beliefs. We are preparing their children for the year 2000 and life in a global one-world society, and those children will not fit in." Hold it. They are preparing my children for something? No, sorry. I'm preparing my children to serve God. But these globalists have this idea in their head that we would be better off with one world government, one new world order. They really think that. That's their philosophy. They got it from their father, the devil. Yes. The devil wants new world order so that he can control everybody. He really wants to wipe out humanity. So he's going to get these local idiots to think, hey, if we reduce the population to, 2 billion, it will be fine. Well, then he's going to wipe them out. That's what the devil will do. And these guys that are having all their clubs, the top secret meetings and all that, they really are serious, folks. And they've made a lot of progress. But they're not the real enemy. The real enemy is Satan behind all this. You've got to keep this in perspective. They want to lower world population levels quickly. And one of the biggest obstacles is the teaching of creationism. Because evolution is a foundation philosophy for communism, for socialism, for Marxism, for the New World Order. If there's a God, then you can't have a New World Order because people have rights that come from God. So they have to eliminate the God concept. So there's a real discrimination against creationism. Believe me, I'm in the thick of this one. I know what I'm talking about. They say creationism should be discriminated against. No advocate of such propaganda should be trusted to teach science classes or administer science programs anywhere. If they're doing so, they should be dismissed. If a museum curator starts believing in creation, if a professor at your local university starts voicing objections to evolution and starts believing in creationism, he'll lose his job. There's a long list of folks that have been persecuted just because they believed in creation. There are thousands of brilliant scientists that are afraid to say anything, afraid to say they believe in creation because they may lose their job. I mean, there's a real persecution, big time. You say, oh, come on, in America? Oh, yeah. Hey, suppose a teacher in the Soviet Union would have stood up 10 years ago and said, guess what, students? I don't think communism works. I think capitalism's a better system. What would happen to that public school teacher? Siberia? Maybe, if he's lucky. We got about the same persecution in America, folks. For public school teachers to try to stand up for creation, there's a good chance they'll lose their job. They're afraid to rock the boat. Because the ACLU, the American Communist Lawyers Union, has done a wonderful job of spreading the propaganda, the lie, that you cannot teach creation in the classroom. You certainly can. The teachers are afraid to. School boards are afraid of a lawsuit. All the ACLU does is threaten a lawsuit most of the time. They don't have to sue. They just threaten it. People back off. Oh, ACLU. Look, we need to stand up for our rights. I'm glad our founding fathers did. You got the right to teach creation if you want. Now, the teachers don't have the right to try to convert the kid to be a Baptist or Buddhist or Catholic. They don't have that right. But they do have the right to teach all theories of origins. They've always had that right. And I got books on the table about that and on my order form if you want to get some of those. Okay. A professor from Iowa said, you should fail any student if you find out he's a creationist. We don't want anybody to get a degree from our university who believes in creation. That's their philosophy. If the professor discovers the student is a creationist, you should fail him. Furthermore, the student's department should have the right of retracting his grade and possibly his degree if he becomes a creationist later. That's real academic freedom, isn't it? Yep, Soviet style. Here we have whole chapters teaching evolution. We're paying for it. And they are very carefully censoring out any mention of creation. I collect the books, folks. I got hundreds of them. I know what I'm talking about on this one. Come to my house and see them. I can show you page after. I got several pages here photocopied out of there. Unbelievable stuff from the textbooks. Here the kids in Hope Biology 1994 edition have to be tested on this material. Boys and girls, life arose from non-living matter. Is that a scientific fact? No. Has anybody ever seen that? No. Can we even imagine how it could happen? No. But they have to be tested on it. Learn it and take a test. Don't they? How about this? The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. There's a lot of ways to prove that's not true. But you know what? This is one way they can weed out those who don't believe in evolution. It's got to be on the test. The guy who's translating my materials into Russian lives 2 blocks away from me. Grew up in the Ukraine. When he got done with high school, excellent grades all through high school, senior year, he took a test. One of the questions on the test was, do you believe in evolution? Yes or no? He checked no. They refused to let him graduate. They finally sent him his diploma 35 years later in the mail. Refused to let him graduate because he believed in creation. That's the only reason. You said that couldn't happen here. Well, not yet, but it's getting close. There's a real persecution, folks. I was at at Yale University a couple of weeks ago. As I stood there in the museum, at Peabody Museum in Yale, Connecticut, hundreds of kids came through, just looked at the dinosaurs, as the guides were telling them all about evolution at taxpayer expense. It just was all I could do to keep my calm, tempered, keep my normal self in line. I talked to one of the women who was leading one of the groups. I walked up to her and she said, hey, nice tie. Dinosaurs. I always have dinosaurs on my tie. I said, yeah, I speak on dinosaurs all over the world. She said, really? I said, yeah. She said, man, that's great. I said, yeah, I do it from a creation perspective. You should have seen her face change. She said, I'm not interested. Turned and walked away.